Hi, I discovered what I did wrong, and I thought I did it this way, but apparently I wasn't paying close enough attention. I've got my starting here. I'm going to hit an F6 for my keyframe right there. I'm going to put in, oop, I may have just messed this up. Let's try it again. I removed classic tweed. I'm going to put it back in. Now I got my starting frame, got my ending frame right here. I'm going to come back to my starting frame, my ending frame, drag it right down here and make it big like that, and then come back to this and hit enter. Yep, works fine. Apparently I've got an extra frame there, so I'm going to drag it there, even though it shouldn't be. There we go. So it gives the illusion of far away getting bigger as it gets closer. That's true just about anything. It's sort of like that old thing when you're flying in an airplane and you're getting close to land. It looks like a bunch of ants, and then all of a sudden it gets bigger and bigger, and the next thing, when you land, you see these buildings that are 10, 20 stories tall, and you're looking up at them. So it's kind of cool that way. Now I've got my layer there. I'm done playing with it. I'm going to hit delete right there to just get rid of the layer. Probably should have named it before I deleted it, but I knew I was going to get rid of it. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to do a search for some Snoopy characters. I chose this one, and then I also chose one in PNG. All I did was a Google search. First I did it Snoopy, and then I did Woodstock. Now I'm going to do two different types of image file formats to do it. So the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it off into this area right here, but first I'm going to go File, Import to Stage. I got to find my image. I saved them in Animate Files, and I've got a Snoopy Peanuts that's a .png. And then the nice thing about PNGs is they have transparent backgrounds. So I don't need to do really any kind of work with this. I've got a ready-made Snoopy, and then just like before, I've got my starting Snoopy. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to hit an F6. And then I'm going to do the classic tween. Yep, I know they need to be objects. And I'm going to drag him down to here. And I had my mouse pointer there. That's why that happened. So I can do a Control Z. Do another Control Z. You know what? I'm going to have... Yeah, I can still do that. Do I have the... Yeah, I got my classic tween. Click right in here. I'm going to make this Snoopy very, very small. So I'm going to hold down my Shift key, drag it on the corner. Now, if I was thinking about it, I would have probably gone Modify, Transform, Flip Horizontal. And so now I've got Snoopy coming here. Whoa, he's going to rotate like that. Well, do I really want him to do that? No, let's go Modify. Although that was kind of cool. I could go Modify, Transform, Flip Horizontal. And then I'm going to drag Big Snoopy down to here. A little bit too big. Now the fact that it's PNG, I can have a colored background, and then Snoopy, as I can see right here, doesn't have any white. And you know, come to think of it, I'm just actually going to drag Snoopy all the way off the stage. And then I'm going to come back here. I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to do something real fun. I'm going to go Control Test. Now that's the annoying thing about the test, is it's going to loop. So I'm done with that. I can go File, Publish Settings, turn off that loop, and so the next time it publishes it, it won't do that. So I can hit Publish and then OK. Come back here and go Control Test. There we go. Much better. And by the way, that's one of my pet peeves. I absolutely, positively cannot stand animations that loop. If you're going to do an animation that loops, give it the ability to stop and start, or better yet, have the animation run once and then have a start button again. So now back to my animation. I'm going to come back here to timeline. It was just telling me that, hey, everything went well on the output. These are just information that I need to know for troubleshooting, and since it worked, I don't have to troubleshoot. So I'm going to call this one Snoopy. And that was a PNG, and we love PNGs because typically PNGs have the ability to have really great transparent backgrounds. Not all PNGs do, just so you know, but the vast majority of them, if they were smart, would have a transparent background. Now I'm going to do another. I don't want it to be on that layer, so I got to click right there. And now I'm going to go File, Import to Stage. I'm going to Snoopy and Woodstock. So I've got what we call Joe Cool. Now the most important thing to do is not to modify the shape. Now this is a JPEG, and by default JPEGs have white backgrounds. If I want to get rid of that, I can easily do it. Well, sometimes easily, sometimes not so easily. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that, and I've got it selected. Just to be safe, I click on it again. Yep, still selected. I can come up here and go Modify Bitmap, Trace Bitmap. Now this is where you're going to have to kind of play with it. The first time I try it, I always go with the default and the minimum area. Sometimes I may drop this down depending. Ooh, I can hit Preview, and that's what it's going to look like. It loses a little bit. I'm going to come back here and maybe go 6 and go Preview. A little bit better. 4. Preview. So I'm going to go with that, or I could change the color threshold. I can do many corners. Obviously, the more corners, the better. I can go to pixels. I can go smooth, very smooth. All these are very nice. Now notice that it's polka dotted. That means it's really good. I'm going to click outside here. So once I've done that work, I can click back in here, and notice it's selecting the outside white, with the exception of the tail. A little annoying, but I can fix that later. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit my delete key, and now good old Snoopy and Woodstock no longer have that white background. And then I would probably come back and play with this a little bit more, because he usually is a little bit better than that. I am now going to use my lasso tool, because I'm just going to steal Woodstock. Like that. I've wrapped it around that, and now I can do a Control X, which cuts. And I'm going to do a new layer, and I'm going to go Edit, Paste and Center, which is way over here. Now, as it's still modifiable right here, I can come in and change it. I typically don't want to do that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it again, which it's already selected. I can go Convert to Symbol, and I don't want it to be a button. I want it to be a graphic. And I'm going to give it a name, and I'm going to call it Woodstock. And there it goes. Now I can transform it. If I was to try to transform it before, it would not allow me to uh, manipulate it the way I did before. So what I'm going to do now with Snoopy is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get rid of some of this right there, and I'm just going to hit delete. I've selected those pixels. Oops, did a really bad job. I'm going to come back, didn't like that at all. And hit delete. I can also come over here to my eraser tool and erase part of that, and erase part of that. I could have done the same thing with that. I can also make it a little bit bigger. Now, I'm going to use the paint tool, but I could easily use the pencil tool if I wanted to. I've got to make sure I've got it black. Good. Oh, I don't like that at all. Control Z. I am going to come over here on size. It's 6. I'm going to maybe make it 3, which is half the size. Come back to my paint tool. Yeah, much better. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw it right there. You know, one of the things you'll find out is you can become too much of a perfectionist. I could play with that forever and just draw myself absolutely buggy. But I don't want to right now, so I'm going to do my paint bucket tool. And then this is where I've got to be, I can go close gaps, don't close small gaps, or close large gaps. Come in here. Oop, didn't mean to do that. Control Z, I meant to do a white tail. There, I got his tail back. Or if I wanted to make his tail smaller, then I can do that from there. So that's how I've got Snoopy, and now I've got Snoopy that, actually, I'm incorrect. I do not have Snoopy. I have Joe Cool. And so I can now select him like that, and then modify, convert to symbol, and there we go. I now have Snoopy. So I took 2 pictures, I broke them apart. How I did that is I went modify, bitmap, trace bitmap. Now you'd be tempted to do breaking apart, and I did that for a while. It works so much better with trace bitmap, but you're going to have to tweak the settings because otherwise it won't work. Now you should also notice that, you know, I'm a little bit perfectionist. This is at 200%. I'm actually going to go back to 100% and see how it looks. Oh, it looks so much better. I'm not really happy with Woodstock, but I'm still there. And then, oop, oh, I hate that, so I'm going to center it right there. And then I can animate, so I could have Joe Cool not start in there. I've got Joe Cool popping in there. I can have Woodstock showing up later. So what happens is now with the playhead, I start off with just the same old boring Snoopy. Come in here, Joe Cool's playing. Snoopy's getting closer, closer. Oop, Woodstock pops up. Now I can move Woodstock into all different kinds of directions. I can bring him down here and then have him fly up to there, which I think is kind of a good idea. So I'm going to click right there. And I'm going to hit an F6 right there. And then I'm going to create that classic tween. Come back here and I'm going to drag. I can't remember if Woodstock's a girl or a boy. Doesn't really matter. I was going to say her. And then I'm going to hold down my shift key. Didn't grab the corner. Hold down my shift key. or I could just click right there. Change the proportions there. Now let's see what we got here. So we're going to start right there, hit enter. Ooh, just like that. And then I can make it look like he's coming out of the, Woodstock's coming out of the saxophone. So we had Snoopy, we got Joe Cool, and we've got Woodstock. And then obviously what I want to do is I want to go File, Save. And I should have been saving this all along. Shame on me. So I go File, Save. I make sure I understand where I'm saving it to. I'm saving it into my folder. And I'm going to call it, oops, got the cap locks on, Snoopy. Fun. And it's now saved as an FLA. And now I can go File, Publish Settings. I can set it up. It's going to be a JavaScript, HTML. I'm not going to have it looped. I'm going to include hidden layers. I've got the stage setup I want. I can hit Publish. It's okay right here. I'm going to go. To see what it really looks like, I'm going to go Test Movie in Browser. There we go. So I definitely wanted you to have some fun. I showed you how to create characters by your own. I showed you how to steal characters from the web. And I played around with the timeline, showed you how to make it small, make it big, how to move it. So you should have all the cool skills that you need to do a very, very simple animated picture. So I want you to create a picture showing your drawing tools. I want you to animate a portion of it. So if you had that grass like I did before, you could take those characters that I did with Snoopy and animate them. Now, obviously, I want you to have your own creativity, so I don't want to see you do the same thing I did with Snoopy. So just have fun, play with it, and I look forward to seeing your homework. Thank you and take care.